In recent months, climate emergencies have been declared by Canada and a number of other countries. I'm sure you've heard them. Cities have also sounded the alarm. Well, this morning, in a brand new declaration, 11,000 scientists from 153 countries are bolstering that claim.
Have you ever heard of the Alliance of World Scientists before? Ever seen them, publish any studies, hold a conference? Have you ever met a member of this or seen one on TV? Ever heard of them at all? Try Googling them. You just won't find it. It's not a thing. It's this. It's a one-page homemade website set up by some guy in the forestry department at Oregon State University. It's a blog, but not even. It's just one page. It exists so that every time they publish another editorial like this, they can get thousands of strangers to sign it. But it sounds more impressive to say Alliance of World Scientists rather than we got some random strangers on the internet to click like. Seriously, scroll down and it says, we invite all scientists to sign a short article on climate change. You see that? That's what they do. That's all they do. I just started going through alphabetically. So here's Shannon Berg. She's a manager of a healthcare project in Alberta. Her training is as an occupational therapist. Terry Berg of Kwantlen Polytechnic. That's a vocational school. So he's not a climate scientist. He's a teacher at a vocational school. David Boyd. Except he's a lawyer. But he's a lawyer. He's not a scientist. Okay, let's keep going alphabetically. Here's George Burleson on the list. Take a look at him. He seems like a solid guy. He works at a company that makes light bulbs. He's not a scientist. Here's Peter Carter. Is he a climate scientist? Or a scientist at all? No, he is not. Peter is a retired doctor after nearly 40 years in practice as a family physician, first in England and then in Newfoundland and British Columbia, Canada. He's not a scientist. Here's Vanessa Cateau. She's on the list, and she seems really smart. Look at this. She teaches physiology at the School of Medicine and Dentistry at the University of Alberta. I like dentists, but they're not really scientists, and they're not climate scientists. That's just someone who clicked like on that website I showed you. Okay, let's keep going alphabetically. Here's Antoine Clark. Again, seems like a great guy. He works at a hospital for sick children. Anyone who works at a hospital for sick kids is a good guy. But he is not a climate scientist. He's a data analyst at a kid's hospital. Oh, let's keep going on. Here's Rhiannon Davies. She's not a climate scientist. She's the assistant director of summer academic programs at this amazing place called Appleby College. Here's the next one. Here's a woman with the wonderful name, I got to pronounce it carefully, Aviva Cunliffe. And here's her LinkedIn page. She seems interesting. She's the CEO of something called Green Carbon. Her bio says she's the chief scientist for GC Green Carbon, Inc. And she is a focused, energetic, and talented scientist who identified the thermostat of the planet in 2018. Now that sounds pretty sciencey. I've got to admit, I didn't know that there was such a thing as a thermostat of the planet. Maybe that's just another way of saying the sun. But she would know, after all. She has multiple degrees from Atlantic International University. Have you ever heard of them before, Atlantic International University? Me neither. But it's not really a university as you or I know it. It's got a mailing address in this office tower in Honolulu, which, as you know, is not on the Atlantic. It doesn't have a campus, and how do I put this? It's not accredited. It is not a real university. It is a diploma mill. If you pay them $6,500, they will give you a bachelor's degree. If you pay them $8,000, poof, you're a doctor. William Knapp. Who's he? His LinkedIn page says he graduated with a statistics degree in the 1970s, and then he worked for DuPont for 35 years. But for the past 12 years, he's been the boss of BioH2Gen. No idea what it is, but here's his website, and he says he's looking for money. Maybe he should sell some degrees to Viva Cunliffe. Next on the list, I'm going alphabetically, here's of Canadians, here's Alexander Diaz. He's a student. He's studying education. It's a good idea. In his free time, he's a running instructor. Here's Anne Erickson on the list. See that? She's a kids author who specializes in climate hysteria. A global warming scientist? No. Here's Antonia Mills. She's an expert in reincarnation. I'm serious. Let me quote from her biography. She has been awarded a Shastri Indo-Canadian Institute Fellowship for a longitudinal study of young adults who were said to remember a previous life. Mariko Visserman is on the list. I currently work as a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Toronto and York University, Toronto. I study romantic relationships. Mark Stoddard on the list. He's a sociologist. Here's Vicky Husband on the list. She's an eco-activist. Here's Marina Cortez. She's not a climate scientist. She writes papers for the Perimeter Institute with really heavy questions like, why is time always moving forward? Now, I'm going to stop now. I promise you that is just a sample. Could you imagine who else is in the other thousands of names here? It is just people literally signing a form on the internet. There's no vetting recipients, and not a single one of them a climate scientist at all.
11,000. 11,000. 11,000. 11,000.
No, sister. There weren't 11,000 climate scientists signing a report. There were 11,000 bored bureaucrats taking a break from playing solitaire at work who clicked like on some editorial they didn't even read, and that was then breathlessly repeated by journalists who didn't read it either.